We are now joined by 2023 Dallas Cowboys lead back-to-back 1,000-yard rusher, Tony Pollard. Tony, so I mentioned the lead back. Last season was your first professional season as the unquestioned lead back. You've been in a lot of really talented backfields, going back, as you were saying before the show, to your days in Memphis. What was the biggest difference between sharing a backfield and being like the guy in Dallas last year?
Just the responsibility you have to take being the lead back, taking care of your body. Before things can go wrong, just staying a step ahead of things so you're not in treatment or in rehab too long, things like that. Getting more body work done, getting more massages, things like that. So just increasing the prep to make sure my body could withstand the entire season.
Right, yeah, and obviously you were coming off a major leg injury heading into the 2023 season. You said in late December that there was a, quote, night and day difference between how you felt when the season started in September and how you felt near the end of the season. I wanted to ask you, another year removed from that leg injury, what do you think that means for your game in 2024?
Honestly, I feel like it can only go up.
Okay.
Only go up from here. Especially not having to deal with an injury or not having to be in rehab and,
right.
Take steps back from me trying to progress and get better and push my game to the next level. So, just me having a healthy offseason, I feel like it's going to make a world of a difference.
Is early in the season, coming off that injury, did you feel like there was some limitations as to what you could do on the field?
Honestly, at the moment in my head, I felt like I was good. I was all ready to go. But
sure.
After you just watch film and look at yourself on tape, and then I would say it was after the Panthers game.
Right.
The Panthers game was when I just felt like, all right, now I'm back.
Okay.
And then after that, I was good. But mentally, you think that you're ready to go.
Right.
Everything's firing on all cylinders. But as the season goes on and you get a little better and you realize that maybe you weren't kind of.
Sure.
Yeah.
I remember Jamal Charles said something similar when he came off, I think, his second ACL injury. He said, I looked at myself and I said, I'm still not moving the way that I'm used to moving.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until much later in that season that he got right. So
it definitely takes time.
Yeah, hopefully, another year removed, you'll be good to go in 2024.
So Tony, we're talking about being a lead back, and in the modern NFL, part of being a lead back is being a pass catcher. You have to catch passes. That's something you've always done so well in the NFL. And just how do you become such a good pass catcher out of the backfield? Is that, what do you think is the most important part of your game? Because you've proven you can do it all. And just how much do you pride yourself in your pass catching? Because fantasy football, we love the receptions, we must say. We absolutely love the receptions.
It's pretty, like, catching the ball for me is almost second nature. At Memphis, I was a running back on paper, but on the field when I lined up, I was in the slot most of the time. So I was a receiver, so I'm used to catching the ball out in the open field and contested catches and things like that. So just having that in my background and then just being able to run in between the tackles too, pass block on top of all of that, and then just combining it all together.
So, yeah, because in fantasy football, touchdowns are, of course, king. But in modern fantasy football, we love the receptions. And I just wanted to ask you, too, like, I've been wanting to ask all the players, when you hear fantasy football, what's like the first thing that comes to your mind? Did we just like annoy you guys, like, or is it
Which is
fun
understandable,
at all?
by the way.
I
get it.
What do you think when you hear fantasy football?
When I think of fantasy football, I think of ignore it.
Which you should do.
That's probably the best.
You have
avenue.
to. Whether they're all over you, telling you how good you are, or what you're doing for their squad, you got to ignore it, because it could be the next play, something could go wrong, and then that whole conversation gonna change.
Look, as a community, we try to be good about the way we talk to players and stuff, but I know it can get messy at times. So I totally understand that. You've been with the Cowboys your entire career. Now you're headed into free agency, obviously. So we wanted to ask you, going into the next few months here, going into free agency, what is your mindset headed into that part of your life, part of your career?
Right now I'm locked in. When the game's over, Super Bowl's over, I'm back working out. Back hitting it and getting into the groove of things, trying to get my body back right, and then just letting the market play out and see where it goes from there.
If you're back with the Cowboys, so the Cowboys made a big change last year. The fantasy community, we were nervous. Kellen Moore wasn't brought back as offensive coordinator. Head coach Mike McCarthy resumed play calling duties, but you guys didn't miss a beat. You were more explosive, probably the most explosive the Cowboys offense has been in a really, really long time. What was the difference in Dallas last year from 2022? We're already an elite offense to last year. You guys, it seemed like you're scoring 40 points every week.
Blew the roof off.
What was the big difference last year?
I would say our philosophy kind of changed. With Kellen, we were more of a run the ball to pass, to open up the pass game. And I would say with McCarthy, it was more of a pass the ball to open up the run game. And so that was the reason why a lot of things played out how they did this
And
year.
it worked.
It
worked really well. I mean, your passing attack, both the receivers to Jake Ferguson to you out of the backfield, explosive throughout the season. We're hoping we get more of that next year.
Yeah. So we referenced the season, the 2023 season. We'll ask you a Super Bowl question where you played the 49ers in early October, another really, really explosive offense. But then a really, really elite defense, too. As an offensive guy, how would you say, you might not have a great answer for this, how can the Chiefs find success against this 49ers defense that really scrambled a lot of the teams they played this year? And what would you do if you were the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 58 against the 49ers?
Honestly, the advice that I would say for them is you got a guy on your team named Patrick Mahomes. That's like the second greatest thing to Tom Brady. So
yeah,
when you got somebody like that on your team, it's so important that you just let them be themselves and let the game come to them and just be natural out there.
Sometimes it doesn't have to be complicated, right? You just say Mahomes.
So
less is more.
So you mentioned Mahomes. That's all you have to say is Mahomes. The other guy, Brock Purdy, people have been slower to embrace. Fantasy guys, there's some people just refuse to believe that he's like an elite NFL quarterback. But what makes Brock Purdy? He's not Patrick Mahomes. No one else is Patrick Mahomes, like you said. What makes Brock? How did Brock Purdy just come out of nowhere like this? What makes Brock Purdy a quarterback who's now capable of starting a Super Bowl?
I would say he plays within himself. He doesn't try to do too much. He doesn't try to force things. He does a good job of taking what the defense gives him a lot of times. And then once you play like that, the defense get greedy, and then they want to stop the short catches and the long catches, and you can't do both. So that's when you end up getting beat. Deep passes across the middle, deep bombs down the field. So he's done a great job stepping in and being elite.
Last question, Tony. You've been in the league half a decade at this point. The league's kind of a fraternity. I mean, it's not that everyone knows each other, but anyone in particular you're rooting for, like individual players that you're happy made the Super Bowl, that you're rooting for in the Super Bowl. Kind of what are your personal storylines for the Super Bowl this weekend?
I'm cheering for all the backs, both of the running backs. Christian McCaffrey, he's a beast.
Should he be in the MVP conversation? Because now the media, they don't even consider running back part of the MVP conversation.
He definitely should be in that conversation. I'm cheering for Isaiah Pacheco. I'm hoping both of those two guys have great games.
And Pacheco's really come on in the postseason.
Could you tackle Isaiah Pacheco?
That'll be tough.
Can you one time breaking into the open field? Can you do the Pacheco high step? Next year, just if you get a chance, just do that.
It almost looked painful. I don't know if I want to try that one.
It's the classic. He's angry at the ground.
He runs angry.
Yeah.
But definitely. Perfect description.
Tony, thank you so much for taking the time to talk. Some fantasy nerds. This is like our Super Bowl.
Yes.
Yeah, we're getting to talk to Tony Pollard. This is amazing. We've been drafting him for years. He's been carrying our fantasy teams for years. So
yeah, we really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for taking the time. Stop by. Good luck in free agency. You deserve a multi-year long deal. And we'll be drafting you next year.
We're rooting for you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.